Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Waves of Communication channel. My name is Marcy Melzer, and I'm an intuitive speech language pathologist and language facilitation coach and consultant. And as usual, every Thursday, I come live on Facebook and YouTube to do language facilitation coaching. And today I have a really important episode for you. We're going to be talking about the idea of autism diagnosis. I don't even have the graphic pulled up because, yeah. So, what I'm going to be sharing with you today is 5 reasons, 5 signs, 5 warning signals that autism diagnosis and subsequent ABA therapy, which is the trend, which is happening to most families of kids who are late talking, I would venture to say. And I have for you, because I know that you are out there searching for what might be causing your child's late talking, and you're searching for these red flag symptoms. And what I want to talk to you is about other signs that you definitely have evidence for. These red flag things, it's just one list or another list, and one list and another list might have similar things or different things. These signs, they come from information that you have access to right now. So what I'm going to be doing is one by one, I'm going to be showing you a slide with one of these signs and the explanation about why, because your child exhibits this sign, ABA diagnosis or ASD, or autism spectrum disorder diagnosis, and the subsequent ABA therapy will fail. And how I know this is because I have worked with families all over the world who are telling me that they tried it. They took their kids who exhibit these 5 signs. They took them to therapy. They succumbed to the pressure. They signed their kids up. They got the diagnosis, even though they didn't believe it or they were told it, whatever. They did it. It failed. And these are their kids. Okay, so let's get into talking about who these kids are and why ASD diagnosis and ABA fails for them every time. Okay, so number one is this, and it is that your child has a documented physical blockage that causes these red flag symptoms. And here is a list of a bunch of them for you. Ear, nose, and throat issues. Any ear, nose, and throat issues. If that is the root cause of your child's late talking, this isn't going to work for them. Prematurity, genetic issues, being a twin, okay? Just because your child is a twin, they will exhibit symptoms that somebody might call autism red flags. Even that, it's a physical documented blockage. Injury or trauma, chronic illness, like any kind of chronic illness that a child has, ongoing, that they have to take medicines for all the time, diabetes, that kind of thing. Immunity suppression, another chronic illness kind of situation. Allergies, seasonal allergies or food allergies. Toxicity due to anything. And poor diet, which is another version of toxicity. And so the reason that these fail is because ABA therapy implies that the physical symptoms that your child is communicating using these red flag symptoms, they assume that it's a choice and that your child can just choose to not show those red flag things after they receive some behavior modification. We can modify this behavior. We can extinguish this behavior. And it fails because these are real physical symptoms, and they're caused by real physical things that your child perceives, that they are focused on, that they don't want to extinguish, that they're using on purpose to alert people that they need help. They need regulation. They need their medicine. They need their remedy. They need their whatever. They've got physical issues that they need these communication behaviors to communicate about, because you wouldn't know they had ear issues if they weren't tugging on their ear or jumping up and down or chewing on crunchy stuff, or avoiding your spoken language. You wouldn't even know they had ear problems if it was just a fluid issue unless you saw these red flag symptoms. So the fact is, if your child has a physical blockage, ABA and autism diagnosis aren't going to address it. Only addressing that physical blockage is going to do it. So if that's the root cause, and even after you address that physical thing, your child has root cause, you still has autism symptoms, keep watching, because it could be that your child also exhibits, even after the physical issue is resolved, they could also exhibit one or more of these 4 other signs that are going to indicate to you. And this isn't one of these that is actually on your part, but remember, these are the signs that you perceive right now. Let's get into number 2 so you can see what I'm talking about here. And number 2 is this. It is that environmental blockages have caused the child to be chronically separated, meaning separated from people, isolated in their own self. And it's not happening because of autism. It's happening because of these common environmental blockages. So if you have any of these 6 environmental blockages that you have seen happen in your life, and you believe that these are the root causes for your child's late talking, ASD diagnosis and ABA therapy is not going to help them. Let's talk about it. Social distancing and shutdown of the community. Kids need to learn spoken language from other people that they see, not just you, but other people in the community, people they see at the store, people they see in the park, people they see at school, and all of those things were potentially shut down unless you took your kid out anyway. These things have caused them to be chronically separated from the models that they need, physically distanced. Mask wearing, another physical blockage that causes this literal distance and separated. They cannot see faces and facial expressions when people are wearing masks. Work from home parents without dedicated childcare. These kids had to learn to be happy, being chronically, every single day this parent was working, chronically separated from them, independent in keeping themselves entertained and all of that stuff with whatever you set them up with. If you didn't put a person, a human person, with your child while you were working, they learned to be chronically separated from you. All right, now, babysitters who did not talk or engage with the child. Maybe you did leave your child with your mother or a babysitter or someone like that, and they don't speak the same language, or they were too busy cooking and cleaning, or they were too busy just feeding and caring for and cleaning up after this child to actually engage with them. That is an environmental blockage, causing a child, again, to be choosing because they don't have a choice. They got to entertain themselves. They don't have anybody else doing it, reaching into their world to do it for them because they couldn't. They didn't have it. So now number 5 is kids spending more time watching TV and videos than humans. Okay. And then number 6 is multilingual households when people don't speak all the languages. They withhold one of the languages and they only speak one thing in a multilingual household while a child is trying to learn multi things. Now, ASD diagnosis assumes that a child who's disconnected, who has chosen to be disconnected or by requirement of their environment, chronically separated, ASD diagnosis sees those behaviors and just assumes that these kids are impaired, that they can't connect with other people, not that their world has been replaced by isolated time. Okay, so if that has been going on in your child's life and you take them to get an ASD diagnosis, they're going to get one. And they're going to blame this chronic separation on your child and not the environment because that is what they do, right? That's what they do. So if your environment has radically, drastically changed to involve these chronic separation scenarios, chronic means every day. Every day, your child is in the mindset of, I got to figure out what to do by myself. I got to solve this problem on my own. I got to figure out how to do this. Maybe you set them up to be independent like that. but they still can't learn spoken language from people when they are in the mindset of being chronically separated. And it's not an impairment, it's a choice, right? So again, if they ABA tries to teach a child to do things that they want to do, not because they assume that they're impaired, they're going to talk below them. And these kids are going to avoid it because they know they can do better on their own. They don't value connected experiences, especially if someone else tells them what to do. So let's get into the next ones because you're going to really get your mind blown about these and see how many of your kids exhibit these experiences. And maybe if you're in ABA therapy right now, this is why it's failing for you. Okay, number 3, let's go. You have habitually detached from your natural role. This is on you, caregivers and language facilitators. Maybe you are that mom or dad who had to work from home. But for one reason or another, you have habitually detached from your natural role as language facilitator due to your own mindset blockages. And sending your kid to ABA or getting them diagnosed with autism is not going to fix this. And this is what's going on. You spend more time researching, booking appointments, and second guessing diagnosis than modeling functional speech for your child. It's why you're watching this video. Number 2, you don't talk to your child because you don't believe they understand you. Maybe you talk at them. Maybe you direct them to do things. You ask them a lot of questions, but you don't talk to them about what they are thinking about because you don't believe they even understand what you're saying. You use only questions and prompts instead of functional language models because you also are under the impression that your child is impaired for some reason and you feel like you've got to do therapy on them. So you've got to make them do things. So you just use these questions and prompts. And of course, they can't learn therapy because you have taught them to be dependent on you to talk for them. Okay, now, you avoid initiating interaction because you don't know how to connect with your child because they have unique differences that they figured out all of their own during their separation time that you didn't present to them, and you allowed them this time to be all on their own, and they figured out what they love all on their own. And now you don't know what it is, so you don't even know how to connect with them while they watch the fan or they spin their hangers or they swing ropes around or they always tear stuff up and watch it fall, right? So you don't know how to do that, so you avoid it. You avoid it. And remember, if you avoid your child, you're creating what we just talked about in number 2. Okay, and number 5 here on this list is that you choose to hide your feelings of worry and frustration from your child because you don't think that they care about your perspective. And it also shows that you don't care about their perspective. That's what we just found in 1 through 4 on this slide, because you don't believe that your child even has the ability to connect with you and learn from you. You're habitually doing other things, and ABA does not address your connection or lack thereof it with your child. And spoken language comes through connection, and you farming this out to somebody else because you don't feel like you can, somebody else can do it better, or you don't know how, is all falsehoods. Nobody knows your child better than you. Nobody can connect with your child better than you, right? And this idea of you don't know how and you're not doing and it all comes from a lack of connection, right? And again, a child who is isolated and independent, so independent that they don't value your connection, they're going to continue to be independent and resist whatever you offer, whether it's good or bad or whatever. If you're not connected with them, you're going to keep failing as a language facilitator, and that's why you quit, right? So you send them off to the ABA hoping they'll get a better response, and they can't get a better response than you. It's your mindset that's blocking this process. And sending your kid to ABA is only going to make it feel worse, because if they trick and bribe and use exchange-based stuff to get your kid to do something like sit still in the chair when you could never get him to sit still in the chair. Now, you never really felt the need to have them sit still for 20 minutes at a time like they do at ABA. But just the fact that they were able in the ABA session to get your kid to do something that you couldn't get them to do is going to make you feel more in this mindset that you think you can't teach your child. But remember, what they're teaching them is not helping you. It's not helping you in your house. It's helping them in their environment. They're controlling your child. And you don't want to control your child, excuse me. That's why you are not seeing the benefit, and they want to control your child. So you have to look for something different. That's what's going on here. Okay, let's move on, to number 4. Here it goes. So, number 4, this is a sign that autism diagnosis and ABA is not appropriate for your child because your child is choosing. They already choose. They are not in the mindset of being controlled. They are choosing. When they attend, listen, and you choose to pull out their spoken language and communicate with you. They are choosing when they do it. And if they are already choosing when they use their understanding, connection, and communication, trying to control it in ABA is taking them backwards, right? So they can and will. This is how you know this is going on with your child. They can and will respond to directions when you take the time to connect and speak slowly and directly. They might not do it in the ABA session. They might not do it for strangers. They might not do it there, but you know that you can get your kiddo to listen, attend, and even see them. Try to communicate with you and initiate communication with you. You have seen it. You have seen it. And they eagerly join connected activities that they love, and they stay with them for an appropriate amount of time. If it's boring and it's short, they stay 2 minutes. If it's long and dedicated and they love it, they'll stay for an hour. But it's appropriate amount of time, and it's inconsistent. It's definitely based on the activity. If your child can't attend to anything, then all right, maybe ABA is appropriate for you, but these kids eagerly want to join what they love. And these kids choose to connect only with people who freely respond to them. When they have a meltdown, the people who will come and reach into their world and help them express this fear or worry or whatever that's going on with them, they'll respond to those people, okay? In fact, they will choose, as soon as they find out that there's people like that in their world, they're going to navigate to them like magnets. They're going to stick to those people, and only those people who freely respond to them without pressure, like, yeah, you can have this thing that you want when you have to do something. Freely responding. And they avoid people who react and yell at them or judge their behavior, which is all of what ABA is. And they might not yell, but they definitely judge their behavior, every single behavior they do, and they manipulate people who consistently try to force them or trick them into doing things. You see this happening in your house. If you try to trick your kid into giving up the tablet time by hiding it in another room, what do? They solve the problem, right? In fact, they'll turn the tables on you and manipulate you, okay? They'll go and sneak when you're not looking. Right? That's how you know that they are manipulating. Your smart child will fight ABA tactics. That's why it's going to fail for these super smart problem-solving kids, because they will manipulate their way right into, whoa, your child's more severe than we thought, and he needs more time with us, because they can't control him in the short amount of time that they can control some little compliant child, right? Not these kids. They are not compliant. They do not want to be controlled. If your child fights being controlled in any kind of way, maybe you've been trying to control them and they've been fighting with you and you're getting that behavior that's coming out. All of these things are signs. In fact, that's what an ABA practitioner will tell you. Look at your child is using all this behavior to communicate. And as a language facilitator, you say, I know, and that's what I'm using to turn into spoken language. I'm not extinguishing that. I am watching it, engaging with it, responding to it, and turning the spoken language, that behavior, into the spoken language that I want to see. That's what we do in the workbook. Okay. Let's talk about number 5. The 5th sign that your late talker will fail if you try that autism diagnosis ABA route. Here is how you know that it will fail. And that is that you know your child is able to connect and learn naturally because you have already done it. You've already seen it. You've already experienced it. You have taught them things. You taught them how to play little games. They consistently come to you for assistance and care. So you taught them that you are the source of food, of warmth, of fun, of all that. You taught them that. They learned that from you. They're not isolated in the chair in the corner waiting for you to come to them. Not unless you train that behavior, that detached behavior. Because when your child wants you, they know. You know that they connect you when they need to, when they want to. They give you amazing eye contact when you connect in happy times. They do. They might not give other people or strangers, but they do for you. And you see them manipulating the environment and realize that they are figuring out how to negotiate more effectively every day. You know, especially if you engage in negotiation with them, like we talk about on the channel. You know, your child has to understand that with responsibility comes privilege, and with privilege comes responsibility. And if you see that happening because you're giving that kind of training with them with language facilitation, then you know. Then you know. Because if they can manipulate, they can negotiate because they learn cause and effect. Right? Now, number 5 is that you have seen a change. You've already seen the change in your child's behavior when you make a change in your speech by talking more slowly or giving more details or swapping these questions with statements or doing something different. You did something different and you saw a change in your child just from you changing how you talk to them, changing how you connect to them, changing what you say to them. You saw a change in them just from that. That's how you know that artificial ABA and ASD will fail for kids, because your kid has proven to you that that test is wrong, that they are not impaired, that they can learn, that they are learning, that they want to learn more. They are eager to explore and engage when they are connected. Okay? So it's all about connection here. And the idea that your child, your beautiful child, is communicating every single day. And you have the ability to literally shift that behavior into functional spoken language that your child wants to use, needs to use, will choose to use every day. And it will get better and better every day if you embark on a language facilitation journey. Okay? That is what replaces ABA. And in fact, these 5 signs, warning signs, that the autism diagnosis ABA route will fail for you are the same 5 signs that remind you that you have the equipment and empowerment. You have everything you need available to you right now to facilitate the outcome you're looking for without an autism diagnosis, without any diagnosis, without any therapy, without anybody else telling you what's wrong with your child, because you see in these 5 characteristics that there is a lot you can do. There's a lot you have influence on. No therapy has influence on your home environment. Isn't that the outcome you want from this therapy? Is your home environment to change? You don't care what happens at the ABA center or at the school. Your child's only there for a few hours a day. What you really care about and what you're really suffering right now is the problems you're experiencing in your house. And that outside therapy to try to manipulate and control and manage your child's behavior instead of empower them to shift it into speech. You're not going to change anything. You can't. That's because these kids are so smart and powerful. They see through the smokescreen of repetitive directions for reward. That's all ABA is. All right, how many more times do I have to do this? They learn. And if they're compliant, that's because this has literally been programmed into them. Compliance. And it's not the progress you're looking for. And these kids, so these lay talkers who fit the 5 criteria that I displayed today, I don't believe that they are autistic. I don't believe that that's the right label for them. I think they're just late talking because there have been blockages to their natural learning. They all, 100% of these kids, have capability of improving, even if they have a genetic disorder, even if they've had chronic ear fluid, even if they've had a tongue tie or their vision impairment, or they've got genetic disorders or brain injury and stuff. All we want is 1% better spoken language every day, right? And in 11 weeks, you've got a whole new level of understanding, attention, and spoken language that you have the capability to facilitate. And the time you spend researching, Googling, ABA, is it this thing that's wrong? Is it this that's wrong with them? Once you find that out, what are you going to do? What are you going to do if you decide that they are broken or wrong or diagnosed or whatever? How are you going to solve these problems that are happening in your house? Through disconnection, through mindset, through environmental blockages. We don't have social distancing anymore. We don't have masks anymore, depending on where you live, right? You have the opportunity to get your kid back out and get him social again and make up for this lost time for whatever blocked the process until now, because these kids are ready. They have the mental capacity, the neural platform and capability in their brains, especially if they're younger than 25 years old. And I'm pretty much all of these lay talkers are under 25. And until 25, you got a lot of neuroplasticity available to you. And you, as the language facilitator, are the one that activates it through language facilitation work. Okay? So if you are new to the channel, thank you for watching. If you are returning, thank you for watching. Let me remind you about a few more ways that you can continue on your language facilitation journey. If you're not ready to make an investment yet, but if you are, there are ways to make this process activate and get going faster right now. And it starts with the workbook, which is right here in my left, and it is in 3 languages. It's available all over the world. An 11-week journey to help you shift, help you motivate this child to shift is what this whole program is about. Nobody's making anybody do anything. In fact, I can't make you do anything. It's all about realizing what inspired action is necessary. And this workbook helps you realize every single day what is necessary for you to help your child, motivate them to shift their behavior into spoken language at least 1% every day. And the skills build on skills, and you will see speech and language. You will hear speech and language that you never heard before. I promise you, any child, any parent can do this. I've made it that easy. Okay? If you want to stay up with all of the coaching that I do on YouTube, Facebook, everywhere, sign up for my newsletter. It is in the description box below, and you'll get an email every week with more details about how to learn more, how to engage more. Now, if you are one of those moms that's in that mindset where you really are, it's your mindset that's causing you to have difficulties, then you're going to want to follow my new channel. I've got a channel that's dedicated specifically to the mindset work that is surrounding what's blocking your language facilitation. Here on the Waves of Communication channel, we've got the strategies for the spoken language development. On the Marcy Melzer Intuitive SLP channel, I am coaching you to fix your mindset and take inspired action so that you see see the progress that you want to see because you manifest it and you create it yourself. Okay. Now, I do have some Q&A questions. I know that I got through all of that right away. So if you want to stick around, let me get back over here. So I do have coaching and Q&A time right now. I've been collecting some questions off of the platform. If you have a question for me today, post it in the comments now. And as I get through with these other things, what I'm doing, because this platform has so many resources, is instead of answering your question flat out, we don't have time for all that, I'm going to direct you to the way to find the resource you need. There'll be usually a dedicated video pretty much for every one of these questions, and I'm going to send you over there to find them. And always, of course, if you can't get the solution you need from the workbook, from the videos, from the online coaching courses or whatever, then that's when you need to break down and realize that you need a coach. Okay. And you need to visit wavesofcommunication.com and look at the coaching options to work with me to get your kid going, to get yourself going so that you can get your kid going. Because I don't work with the kids, I only work with the parents, and I help you take advantage of all 5 of these realizations, of these signs that your child is ready. And if your child exhibits all 5 of these signs, then the chance of them talking within 3 to 6 weeks is very high. It's very high. Okay, because that's what's happening. And I know that's what happens. Again, the data to back this up is through the experience in my own practice, in the Waves of Communication practice. I personally have worked with more than 150 families around the world. And their anecdotal responses say their kids met these criteria and they facilitated new speech. Okay, so the first question I have here is from Miriam, who says, at 2 years old, my son's ear infection were just prescribed antibiotics and it caused more trouble, right? Because all they did was treat the antibiotics, but they didn't treat the other environmental symptoms. And they didn't follow up with it. And so he got diagnosed with autism by the school district at 3, and now he's 9 and he still continues in therapy. Okay, so this is what I'm telling you. If you do not address the physical responses and you move into this ASD diagnosis, you're going to be like what happened to this child. And the environmental things don't get addressed. The speech that they miss doesn't get addressed. They get labeled with the wrong thing and they get in therapy that keeps them stuck, and they don't evolve 1% every day. They get stuck in a period of being controlled by other people. And that's why still at 9 years old, your child only has programmed whatever, because they've been in that therapy kind of environment. It may not be ABA that they call it, but it is behavior control exchange based. If you say this, you get this. If you give me the card, you get this. If you do the sign, you do the whatever, you get this. That's exchange based stuff. It's not functional language training, it's behavior training. And it doesn't work. Sashi says, my daughter's 5 years old. In her, I want to say that this is like a preterm, like preschool. The teachers told me that she pays short-term attention during the concept time. Please suggest some strategies for this. So this is a child who is having a problem at school. The parents are reporting, the teachers are reporting, your child's not like the other kids. Your child can't pay attention. Your child isn't showing at the school the things that you know your child can do at home. To help you with this, I have done an entire video with strategies you can use to prepare your child to be better at school, more successful at school. And one of the things in the strategy works on developing their attention for listening in group learning and things you can do at home. So look up that video, go on the Waves of Communication channel on YouTube, go to the little magnifying glass and search for school. And then you will see multiple videos about how to help your child to be their language facilitator and teach them how to be a good communicator, connected, co-learning, collaborative learning, social learner at school. And if they can do that, if you can send them ready to be a social learner, you won't get reports like this. Okay, next question. Ashley says, is running around in circles or looking between his legs a sign that a child has ear fluid? So this is a comment on those, is my child signs of ear fluid or whatever. This is a mom who's stuck in that mindset of, oh no, is it ear fluid? Is it whatever? If you suspect that your child has ear fluid, unresolved ear fluid, take them to the doctor. Take them to someone who professionally looks in kids' ears and identifies ear fluid. Okay. If your child shows multiple symptoms of ear fluid, your job is to take them to the doctor, the holistic practitioner, the chiropractor, somebody who knows how to evaluate these things in the medical profession. Don't just assume that behaviors are physical without a medical interventionist. That's how you find the answer to this, okay? Because your child could be doing lots of behaviors. Remember, if they've been isolated, they're inventing their own language on their own. They don't know how to use spoken language to tell you there's fluid in my ears, I've got a headache, I'm whatever. My throat is sore, I can't breathe at night. All you see is their symptoms, okay? So let's move on. This is a long one. So Saeed says, I am concerned. So this is a child who had ear fluid and they did the intervention, but the child still shows other symptoms in this family, didn't do anything besides fix the medical. So let's see what happens. Saeed says, I'm concerned about the autism behaviors he still has after 3 months and 18 days, obviously counting. It's been 3 months and 18 days since they put the surgery, the tubes in. How come he's still showing behaviors, this autism things? Is it normal? His hearing is 100%. He should be fixed. Well, that's because when kids have physical blockages, then the mindset and environmental blockages often develop as a result of the physical blockage, because this child had ear fluid for a while that was untreated. And there were all those habits that they did before that triggered these autism red flag behaviors. And then all they changed was take the fluid out. Remember, that last slide said all the change comes from you doing something different. Your child's not going to learn new language spontaneously without new language models. Remember, they didn't hear the spoken language. They were disconnected. They were isolated. In this case, he wasn't hearing. Maybe around you, wah, 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 wah. It takes a minute for the child to be able to learn and hear new things. Let's see. Even though he was potty trained, and so other things backslid. Even though he was potty trained before the operation, now in the last couple of weeks, we started nappies again because he started doing it on himself. He's not being independent, right? Things are changing in him and physically. So there's a big difference now. He's hearing things, he's noticing things, he's doing things. How are you responding to this child's spoken language, right? This is all reach and teach. This is all reach and teach. And you're going to find out how to help this child when you get the workbook and you start to look at all of the things that your child is thinking about. They don't just think about their wants and needs. They think about their troubles and they think about their frustrations and they think about what's going on inside their body. And if you're not engaging in spoken language, connected spoken language, conversation about that, then your lay talker is going to show you signs that they need that from you. They're going to backslide on their skills. They're going to get lazy and not do the things you know they can do, because they know that when they are less capable, they get more connection from you, right? Just like we talked about, if you teach them to be independent so you can work without them and them being quiet in the other room, they learn. And then they're going to take that same behavior and they're going to use it other times too. So even though this child was potty trained, how were they potty trained? Was it exchange based? Was it connected based? How do you know they were potty trained? Because they used to go on their own, or they used to go when you took them. Now are you taking them? What changed? Kids change when you change, or the environment changes. Something changed. The physical environment. How are you helping your lay talker process through these changes that are going on in their physical body? That's part of this coaching. Okay, let's go. I've got a couple more. Not seeing any new questions come in. Hopefully these are resonating with some of you. Zaria says, do you have a video? And I love this question. Do you have a video about the success stories to help parents feel motivated about this journey, this road? My son is on a waiting list for speech therapy. I don't know where you live, but obviously this is going to be happening more and more often with all the kids flooding in who didn't have therapy when it was shut down. They're making up for lost time, plus all the new kids coming into the system. This is, flooding the system, and it's going to limit your time with a therapist and maybe even delay, like is happening in this case. So, my son is waiting for therapy and he's 6, and he's now, since 5 he's communicating. So obviously you've been doing something at home, following language facilitation. Let's see, I'm going to read this more. I know I'm part of the process because I feel so happy with this progress, but I feel very overwhelmed when I hear another 6-year-old speaking and I see the gap, right? So this is a long journey, and 1% every day can be challenging to be enough to be motivating you to keep doing and keep working and keep doing all that stuff. And so I wonder, she says, I wonder if he'll ever catch up, and I don't want my negativity to affect how amazing he's doing and how much he's learning and how awesome he's doing at other things. That is your fault. All that good stuff he's doing is your fault, right? And so you realize that if you project a negative energy, it's going to be your fault to bring him down as well. And you want to stay positive. And I love that you are aware of this. I love that you are aware of this. And so YouTube channel, Marcy Melzer, Intuitive SLP. You're going to see it in the description below. Let me show you an image of what it looks like again. This channel every week is going to help you because I help you stay the course, ride the ups and downs, all the anchors that get thrown at you when you go to a party and you see other kids talking great, or you feel really tired, or your child's in a grumpy mood and they don't feel like connecting with you, and you really had something fun planned, all those times that you feel like, oh man, is this really worth it? That's what that channel's for. Because without you maintaining your mindset at this positive level, it's not that you're happy every day. I know that I talk about if it isn't fun, it isn't fun. And that's true. But remember, fun isn't always woohoo, happy stuff. Fun is solving your problems. Fun is overcoming challenges. Fun is not having so many meltdowns in your life anymore, because instead of ignoring the meltdown or bribing them out of it, you dug into the depths of their misery and you brought those feelings out and you talked about them and whatever. And while that experience doesn't feel very fun, it feels at the moment, it feels really nice afterwards, because you caused change. Because the comfort zone, this will wait and see, or the push, and I'll make it happen, neither one of those is going to result in a happy journey with 1% increase every day. What's going to make that happen is your connection with the lay talker, and then using this workbook to monitor your connection. That's what's great about this workbook. We don't just monitor how many words the kids are saying, or how many directions they can follow, 2-step, 3-step directions, or can they say 1-word or 2-word or 3-word sentences. We don't even monitor that. What we monitor is, number 1, your connection. Well, the first thing you monitor is your mindset, because you can't show up to have an effective language facilitation opportunity without an effective language facilitator mindset, of course. And then the second thing you monitor is your connection. How is the connection? Is your child still in their independent, I'll go figure it out by myself mindset, or are they choosing to show up for your really attractive opportunities? And attractive doesn't always, again, mean get out the candy and fun. Attractive means responsive, because your lay talker is communicating and they love it when you respond to their communication with intelligence and not control. Okay. So that happens, and the process just evolves naturally as you connect with these kids, okay? And learn how to talk to them, figure out what goes on, and then they figure out how amazing you are. And then they never stop leaving you alone. They want to learn more and more from you. All right, let's see. We've got a couple things. So, hey, there's Lisa. Hey, Lisa. Very nice to talk to you. And she says, I was just wondering very recently this very question. If there's other parents or whatever who are out there, there are interviews. So on my YouTube channel, you can go to the little search bar or go to the playlists and look for the interviews. And there are lots of great interviews on there with professionals, some professionals who just serendipitously happen to find me. They have their own lay talking kids, and they've used language facilitation in combination with their own skill, like their mindset people or their psychologists or their life coaches or things like that, where they are using, basically we all do the same thing, mindset work. And I just did a video over on the other channel I'm going to share with you. It's this one, how to be grateful for your child's speech delay, because the reality is they've shown you. Now you can't ignore. Now I've reminded you again, 5 reasons they are ready for you to make a change. If you're that one that's stuck in that mindset, then your late talker's waiting for you to make that change. They need you to make that change. They really, really do. They really, really do. So, and Lori says, I just want to thank you for helping me realize many of these points. Addressing them was my starting point. Amazing. And that's what I want. I'm so glad that you shared this, Lori, because for anybody who's new to the platform, who's watching this, now you can see literally, I didn't make this up just overnight. This comes from 5 years of working online exclusively as a coach, and 27 years before that of working with families over and over and over again. Parents who follow me, like Lori here, you realize how important you are. So addressing them was my starting point and has made a great difference in our connection and progress over time. And that's the thing. So you have permission to say no thank you to the ABA, to the autism diagnosis, because all the autism diagnosis wants to do is put you in ABA therapy. You can get speech therapy without autism diagnosis, and you can get really nice, connected, play-based therapy too, if you decide that you want to investigate in working with a practitioner. Just make sure that practitioner has all 5 of these strategies that I talked about today in mind. And they are playing to your child's abilities and strengths, their smarts, their manipulation, their ability to negotiate, right? When you engage with these things, that's when you see the most rapid improvement. And I know your mindset is the key, but it's not the only one. You have to do the work too. You have to take the inspired action. And if you feel like you're doing a lot, then maybe it's different. It's different inspired action. You have to make a change in figuring out. And I promise, when you connect with the late talker, oh yeah, when we talk about the connection, sorry, the other 2 things in the workbook, that's why I got off track, because I was so busy talking about connection. In this workbook, we only pay attention to the child's motivation to try new speech, because they're going to be doing new speech every day. You're not going to be able to count how much speech they're doing. The way we gauge their understanding is how well they are connecting with you and responding to you when you respond to them. That's how we monitor if a child is truly engaged in comprehending what you're saying to them. And the other way you know that they're truly engaged in comprehending what you're saying to them is they start using it themselves. They start saying little phrases that you say. They say words that you say. They tell stories. They bring up topics that you used to tell stories about, or that you already have told them a story about. They want to hear that story again, right? So that's it. So it's like you against the world and me against the world. She says, you're so right. But it's like you against the world, me against the world. It's not. It's not. Here in the community, this is a safe space. And 1% improvement, it's going to be your son going out to show everybody in the world, Lisa, that he has this capability because you are going to equip and empower him. Okay. And I know he wants to. I know he's excited about school. I know Lisa because she's my client. She's in the Middle East. Okay. So I know that we've had people responding to this video from all over the world. This same problem of force into these diagnoses and force into these behavior controlled therapies is happening everywhere. And you have the option to turn it down and get better response yourself with language facilitation. I'm here for you. We can do this. And I believe that globally, more and more parents are going to be like you and decide they don't want to do this to themselves or their kids. Okay. They want to see the answer, right? It's tough though. It gets better, right? It is tough, but it gets better. And that's it. That's what's fun about it. You realize that you did it. But yeah, I know it's a big problem. I know it's a big problem. And I know it's hard to feel grateful to have such a big problem to solve. But again, watch that video over on the Mindset channel because there's a lot to benefit from this journey. And I'm wishing you all the best and reminding you that I'm here. If you want coaching, that's what the best parents are using. Visit wavesofcommunication.com and yeah, we'll get you started. Okay. Thanks for joining me, everybody. I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye for now.